will first go through available information about XRPHD or XHD, which kind of caused a bit of confusion in yesterday's video. And then we will actually show you guys some amazingly bullish fundamental change in the payments industry. In short, it will be like Swift using XRP indirectly, and then we'll actually look at documents showing central bank initiatives which studied the DLT initiatives for cross-border payments. And as the fundamental foundation is concreted well enough, different layers are actually slowly popping up above this one. Now, players involved in this are reputable and they are well crafting their initiatives. The so-called direction change of Ripple to focus on the small and medium enterprises, the low value high frequency payments, is finding to be the best direction to move on this economic situation, because currently the shift is moving towards that particular area, the small medium business. And when we actually connect these through, we also have information which kind of gives us more detail about how these interrelates, or how this actually correlates as all the documents which we went through previously using central bank documents, then about different initiatives from the central banks. Now these all actually come into a settlement infrastructure which is mostly connected. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. If you saw value from the material we discussed in the introduction, please support the channel, hit that like button, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button too. Now, jumping in the first one, say for example, this is XRPHD's homepage. When we go into that, we kind of get the white paper download and the rest to show what is the specification or the characteristics of that particular coin. But when we actually come to the bottom, we kind of get this Twitter official, like their contact. So when we actually take, for example, the Twitter here, we kind of get this one, XHD official, but account is suspended. And then the email is showing XHD official @gmail.com. For me, that doesn't actually looks like something legitimate. Either this is a scam project or this is a failed project. Even if it is a failed project, it should actually have it should have some kind of legitimate email address for businesses, right? Now when we actually go into different exchanges, say for example this is Bitmart, and it shows they were offering this were the same information provided here in this homepage. So there is some kind of connection with that. But when you actually go in different exchanges trading information, you kind of see this, say this is last 14 days, and if you go to last 30 days, the price fluctuation was not that much high, but suddenly yesterday it started moving up. And if you look at 24 hours, it went up 200%, and in last 14 days it went up 335%. But when we actually say in last 24 hours it went up 200%, and last 7 days it went up 700%, 471%, you also have to keep in mind that it's not actually traded in all the different exchanges. It's traded in some of the exchanges. But keep in mind, I actually saw a comment in my video saying like he saw a comment in different YouTubers, say Bearable Bulls account, saying someone invested $1,000 in this one and he kind of lost $600 instantly. So keep this in mind when you're going into new projects like this, or at least scam or failed project like this. Keep this in mind. You may not have that liquidity to take out your profit. Even though you see that you have profit, in order to take that out, you actually need the proper liquidity there. The buy, sell different orders, so that you can actually, when you execute your position, you need to actually take back that profit, right? So if you don't have that proper liquidity, you will be you won't be able to actually take that out. So just by seeing this 300%, 500% gains, don't jump into asset without checking the proper fundamentals, because that won't actually be profitable. Now yes, everyone before investing should actually check where they are actually jumping into and what they are actually looking into, because if you look at here, you can actually see 24-hour trading volume is just $7,000. Even one individual can actually make this up. So far as I'm concerned, after looking at this and going through their documents and the white paper itself, I feel like this is either a failed project, I repeat, and then don't go into that unless you want to go into something which is so weird. We'll start with this particular document, which shows the fundamental aspects of our investment, which is the XRP, not some XRPHD. Okay. Anyway, this one basically showing SBI Group's initial investments and the report from SBI Group itself. So we'll start from the page number 21st here, and at the page number 21 we can actually see where the investments are actually going in. So the investments on the fintech field, when you look at SBI Holdings, its ranking was first. So you can see R3, you can see Ripple, and then here you can see Wirex. So based on the recent information news from Wirex, MasterCard tie-up and then producing a new aspect, that shows like the fundamental is actually really involved and everything is correlated. Then you look at Google, you can see again Ripple there, Ledger X there. Now you look at different aspects. You can actually see from Citibank, they are targeting R3. Then again Goldman Sachs, they are targeting R3. Now keep these investments in mind, because as we go forward in different documents, we actually get correlated information in each of these documents, but we have to actually analyze them to understand how well it is actually connected. Now when we come to the page number 40 of this document, we can actually see this one, RC Cloud. So that is a cloud base, and they show about Ripple's X-Current currently Ripple Net, the on-demand liquidity platform. It is connected with the cloud and the banks can directly use that one from there. And as we move to the bottom, we can actually see how they are actually looking at settlement network utilizing Ripple's DLT. Now here it's X-Current, that does not require high maintenance cost, blah blah blah. So it's just showing you that low cost payment network 24/7 365 will significantly reduce payments cash. So that is something which they are highlighting here, that saves you a lot of cost. Now when we actually move into the page number 63 of this document, we actually get to see this one. So it kind of shows full scale efforts towards increasing usage of XRP and Ripple's and R3 Corda. So when we actually go down to see what's actually happening, you can actually see the time frame which they are actually looking at this in things. And then when we actually move into page number say 66, you can actually see the new aspects, say wallets, receipt, delivery, cryptocurrency at VC trade. So automatically these are step-by-step things which they are actually rolling out, right? Slowly but surely it is actually happening. So if you look at the investment portfolio, they actually have invested heavily into virtual currencies, and precisely they are concentrating much more on XRP. Now we actually know that, right? So as we move into page number 68, it shows how they are actually kind of really moving into this one. Now whenever they are using, like these institutions are using Ripple's XRP for settlement, they are also using R3's Corda. Now keep this in mind as we move into the page of SWIFT and then SEPA and others, like say central bank aspects. You actually need these information to actually understand what's actually happening there. Now when they're actually looking at the collaboration between Ripple and R3, companies with technology closest to a global standard, I repeat, technology closest to a global standard. Now majority of the Japan's bank are actually going in with this particular technology. So you can see SBI Ripple Asia, May 2016, SBI R3 Japan, you can see Jan 29. So automatically these are evolving in that space. Now if you remember the entire history of Ripple, the company, and you know the initial issue with R3, then back in 2018 Kitao came into the role. He actually started playing his own way and then resolving the R3 and Ripple dispute was the key, and then slowly it actually moved into using XRP. Now it's actually pushing for full-scale adoption of XRP using R3. So they are promoting the utilization of Corda and settlement through XRP. So that is kind of the big thing there, because when we say global settlements and global standard, here global settlement applications, which is the Corda settler, and it uses XRP as a settlement asset. So as we look forward for the future expansion, they are actually targeting at the upcoming Osaka Expo on 2025. Before that, they're actually looking to make XRP the global bridge asset in that way. So if the banks are actually going in and pushing that one out, then that's going to be huge. Now, this is actually from Swift's document. They are talking about, Swift GPI, different aspects of the GPI. But when you actually come down and look at their point 11, which is the embedded systems, you can actually see they're actually talking about proof of concept with R3 trade platform. So when we actually see this, they're actually talking about GPI payments on a distributed ledger based technology. Now, when you actually jump into Swift's another page here, I'll actually link all these links in the description so you guys can actually read if you want to get more information on that. So initial proof of concept to connect GPI with blockchain enterprise software firm R3. So you just saw the connection with R3 and XRP and how they are actually using that as a settlement platform. Now, keep this in mind. Ripple is providing you a settlement asset, whereas Swift is doing a messaging platform. Now, Ripple can actually do both messaging and settlement together, whereas now Swift, they have to exist in this infrastructure, so they are trying to actually implement like this. Say, for example, their messaging system with some other settlement technology, and now they are actually using R3 here in this particular idea. Trade transaction powered by GPI. The first stage of proof of concept will work on R3's leading blockchain platform, Corda, to bring benefits of GPI payments, speed, ubiquity, certainty to DLT technology. Now, why they are actually going on to this one? Because they understand that institutions around the world are actually going into this and adopting this particular technology. So when they are talking about this, you really have to keep this in mind. While DLT enabled trade is taking off, there is still a little appetite for settlement in cryptocurrencies and pressing need for fast and safe settlement in fiat. Now, that's coming from Swift. You have to actually understand that. And Swift actually does huge payments, right? So when you actually look down here, with GPI link, banks will be able to prove rapid transparent settlement service to e-commerce and trading platforms. So what way they're actually talking about? Trade transaction powered by GPI using R3 settlement, right? The settlement mechanism using cryptocurrency. Now, that is actually a huge thing. Now, given the adoption of Corda platform by trade ecosystems, it was natural choice to run this proof of concept. That is everything, brothers and sisters. Understand this one. If they have a big network, then the network effect is actually kicking in. Think, even if Swift is actually thinking about the network using DLT and XRP as a settlement asset, automatically there would be a lot of other institutions in the background checking this one. Now, we just have to do our research and find who are actually doing that. Now, Swift GPI has rapidly become the new standard to settle payments right across the world. Now, don't just get confused here, because all the blockchain applications running on Corda will thus benefit from the fast, secure, blah, 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 blah settlement provided through Swift. Now, when they say settlement provided through Swift, I kind of don't agree with that. When they are going to use DLT and cryptocurrencies for the settlements in fiat currencies, it's not actually Swift. It's Swift just is giving a messaging network, whereas the settlement is happening on R3. Now, when we actually jump into this one, it actually is connected, right? When we look at this one again, it is connecting back to the Corda network. So why? SEBA is a Swiss regulated bank that is getting into asset tokenization space. In particular, it plans to tokenize financial instruments. So the financial instruments are of a lot of attraction, right? A lot of investors are interested in this, and automatically when they are looking at tokenizing that, the targeted institutions who are actually kind of viewing this idea of tokenizing are actually looking at R3's blockchain Corda. Now, this is an enterprise solution as well as a Ripple's one, right? So when they are actually looking at this kind of era, they understand that Corda network gives them the ability to do that. So here it reads, which leverages Corda network, a network that enables private consortia chains to interoperate with each other in a public manner. So if you understand this or not, one way or the other, it's actually everything will be connected to Intelligent Protocol. Now, why I say Intelligent Protocol? As we move into different documents, say this one is actually a project from the Central Bank of South Africa, say South African Reserve Bank. When you actually jump into this one, say we can actually move into, I believe the page number was actually 11. So when we move into the page number 11, you can actually see how they are looking at the distributed ledger technology and how they can actually use it. Then private cryptocurrencies for this settlement aspect, and then distributed ledgers and blockchains, how they can actually use this. So it automatically comes back to the Swift document. One by one, if they are not using it and the network is growing, then they are actually the guys who are actually falling behind, and they mostly will not want to do that. So when we actually talk about this, you can actually see they talk about Corda, Hyperledger, Fabric, and others platform. Even they mention directly Ripple there. So that's about the proof of work and how it changes. Then they talk about the DLT platform. So now they understand that it's about the mechanism used inside. It's not just about the cryptocurrency's name, it's about the mechanism which is being implemented inside. Now in this one, you can actually see different projects executed by different central banks. Say this is Canada project Jasper, and then Singapore project Ubin. So when we actually look at Jasper and Ubin here, we'll actually go through a document which actually goes through that one. Say this one, Bank of Canada and Singapore, that's project Jasper and Ubin. Now, yes, before jumping in that one, we'll actually just move in this one and see at the page 16, it shows BOE, Bank of England, has conducted a number of different studies, and it actually went through this one, which Ripple, right? A proof of concept with Ripple to explore how the use of Ripple Connect and interledger protocol may be able to lower settlement risk. Now, we went through that document and understood that it is reliable information. So now when we actually come into this particular document and move into, say, page number 32, looking at Canada's network design, you can actually see Canada network was built using open source Corda. Corda is a DLT platform from R3. Now we understand that. Now you understand the importance of this one. Central banks are coming into Corda settler, and now Swift understood that, and they are also starting to lean in, because if not, they'll actually lose. Because if you look at the architecture here, for the proof of concept, Corda nodes, Bank of Canada, and Notary Extra, different nodes are actually implemented in. And when we talk about the CBDC era here, you actually have to understand this document is a bit old, and still it talks about Bank of Canada's wholesale central bank digital currency. Now in this channel, we went in detail with the wholesale central bank digital currency, synthetic central bank digital currency, and hybrid versions, right? And here, what are they actually doing? They are actually using their central bank digital currency and then using a smart contract, say HTLC, and transferring it to the other end for their central bank digital currency. Automatically that gets transferred into that. Now here they are not actually using Ripple protocol. Keep that in mind. Here they are not using Ripple protocol. Instead they are using HTLC, which is kind of a smart contract, say hash time locked contracts, which is kind of a smart contract system for payments, right? So when we actually come here, it has its own disadvantages there, and these disadvantages are not something you can directly neglect, because when you look at this one, HTLC protocol fails if the intermediary in the receiving network is not able to transfer the secret to the intermediary in sending network within a specified time period. So there is a play there, and then they actually show you the alternatives to HTLC, and then you can actually see what is the alternative being highlighted: interledger payment protocol by Ripple. So as we told previously, ILP and XRP ledger is going to change the entire new infrastructure. So in a new infrastructure, that is the alternative, right, which kind of gets every advantages and limited disadvantages. So everyone is actually looking at that one. Now, when we actually look at the recent updates, we can actually understand MasterCard accelerates into crypto card partner program, enabling customers to hold and activate cryptocurrency. So this kind of is the next step or the next layer which is being built into this ecosystem. So they states this: our work with Wirex and the wider crypto ecosystem is accelerating innovation and empowering consumers with more choice in the way they pay. So automatically the payment structure is changing. You believe it or not, they are looking for the emerging brands and fintechs. And this will be the upcoming names which we recognize, like Google, like Apple, like Microsoft. These names will be remembered for a long time. And as we say that, we can actually change our entire banking ideology into a new infrastructure like this one. Say banking giant Standard Chartered is building a crypto custody solution. Yesterday we went through documents from Standard Chartered showing you how they actually look at DLT and thus infrastructure. So automatically when we understand that, we can also understand the current events are actually moving into digital assets era in a central bank digital currency evolution, right? We believe that the digital assets are here to stay as an asset class. So you have to keep in mind, as an asset class meaning an investment option. We are developing the venture to meet demands of institutional investors. So if there is no demand from the institutions, they don't have to actually do that, but they're actually doing this. Why? Because they need to meet that demand. But they also need the regulatory clarity there, and they are actually waiting for that one. And then finally this one showing BRICS countries bet on digital technologies to boost development of small and medium sized business enterprises. So keep this in mind. Yesterday I saw a news showing that Google has already coming into India with their investment of $1 billion US. Previously Facebook came in. So automatically these nations, say for example here you can actually see the BRICS nations who are actually coming and jumping into this one. So when you actually keep this in mind, you have to keep that automatically in these countries and in all the other countries as well. Small and medium enterprises play a big role. So automatically when they are being allowed to take in payments and deliver customers across the globe, then the international relationships which they can maintain using the new infrastructure of payments is like giving them a new area. So as they get new area for targeting their customers, automatically their chances of expanding around the world also increases, right? Now when we actually say for example Brazil, we understand Brazil is actually working on what? A project. Brazilian central bank actually went through a DLT project back in 2017. They recently had a talk with Ripple. All these fundamental chains are actually leading us to a new monetary system, a new infrastructure in which payments move quickly and cheaply. So that kind of leads back into this one. Currently it actually works on Swift network, right? So automatically they are trying to improve something so they can stay relevant. And when they are actually trying to do that, they understand that the upcoming standards has to be implemented, and in order to stay relevant they now have to offer both messaging and settlements. And for settlements they are kind of trying to implement the DLT network using R3. Now we know that the Corda settler here, as they are mentioning the Corda, uses settlement token which is XRP. So that kind of shows you where they are actually heading into. If you see value in the content, do support the channel, hit that like button, and if you are new here, do support the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next one. Bye for now.